Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the other Kyurem fusion in the Master League, Kyurem White. Now, this Kyurem is actually fused with my OG Kyurem, the 14-15-15, that I hit Legend with quite a few times many seasons ago. I don't recommend building a 14 attack Kyurem. I was just not able to get a second one with 15 attack, so I ended up fusing the one that I have. Now, this thing is absurdly powerful. To me, this one is clearly the best Kyurem, although both are amazing to use. So without further ado, let's hop onto the matches and take a look at the team in action. And we are running an ABA Dragon team with Dialga lead, Kyurem, and Landorus in the back. So in game number 1, leading into Zacian, this is a little bit of a core breaker. However, Dialga actually does very good into Zacian. I can tank the first one, fire off the Iron Head, they don't end up going for the CMP tie, and guarantee a shield advantage. And you know what is always great with a shield advantage is Kyurem White. So now I get to send in Landorus. Opponent actually ends up throwing a close combat or a wild charge, which works out great for me. Now they're going to pivot into Kyurem Black, but I have a pacing advantage. So I get to fire off the Stone Edge. This will be massive super effective damage. Opponent calls the bait since they're down a shield, and they get absolutely rocked. Opponent is now at very low HP. They're going to fire off the free shot to pick up the KO, but now I have Kyurem White exactly where it wants to be. Up a little bit of energy and up a shield. Kyurem White in the 1-0s, for example, has a perfect 100% meta win rate. So if you get a shield advantage, this thing is just going to sweep every game. 1-0 shield is preferred to the 2-1s, but in this instance, we're still going to win very comfortably here with a 2-1 shield advantage as they hit Zacian and Rhyperior. The thing that's honestly scariest about these Kyurem fusions is the fact that the existing fairy types honestly do not check them particularly well. Even Primarina, which is a wall to energy from this Kyurem White, does not do particularly well into Kyurem White if shields are down. So Kyurem is going to get a very comfortable sweep in game number 1. Dialga so good at generating a shield advantage, and with that shield advantage, Kyurem just runs away with games. We've got a mirror lead in the next match, Dialga versus Dialga. They have Best Buddy boost equipped as well, so this is going to be a coin flip 50-50 CMP tie that unfortunately I do not win. My opponent full sends the Roar of Time. I'm going to shield back because I would love to just get rid of this Dialga. Roar of Time is going to be no shielded. In comes Rhyperior. I'm going to pivot into Kyurem, and my opponent is now going to respond with Primarina. Now this is going to be a little bit scary. Primarina is still going to take significant damage from the Fusion Flare, so they're forced to shield, and I fall just short of making another move. Primarina is the Pokemon that does have quite a bit of play into this team, but the good news for me is that Landorus absolutely crushes Primarina. Because Primarina can no longer reliably run Waterfall because of how strong the Kyurems are, it's forced into Charm, and Charm is devastatingly slow. So my opponent is going to fire off a Hydro Cannon, and they're just not going to get to another move here. They're staying in, hoping I throw, but I'm never going to throw a move. I'm now at the back-to-back Sandsear Storms, and I'm firing off this energy. They're going to shield. They will end up firing off a Breaking Swipe, but their Primarina should be in a range where I can just knock it out with one Mud Shot. So even though I'm unable to get the double up here, Charm is 3 turns, Mud Shot is 2 turns, so the Mud Shot will KO, and despite the fact that we did see a backline Primarina, we're able to take the win. Great lead in the next match, Dialga into Palkia. Palkia throws a couple Dragon Breaths and then pivots out into Dialga. Another ABA Dragon team. I do think ABA Dragon is a really viable archetype right now. It feels incredibly strong. Here I do go for an undercharge with the Landorus because I don't want to give the Palkia a lot of farm, and I would love to get to a lot of moves versus the Palkia. So I'd much rather take the fast move damage from the Dialga. Palkia hits the field. Now I get to begin unleashing Sandsear Storms. Sandsear is going to connect. I get to make it the Sandsear Storm number 2. If they no-shield this is going to put them very, very low. Sandsear lands. There's a Simul Switch. They have Duskmane in the back, and I have Dialga, and this is actually a problem. Duskmane, now that they've baited out the Landorus and they're up a shield, is quite uncomfortable here. Duskmane in evens versus Dialga or Kyurem White is fine, but specifically, the fact that they're up a shield, I'm now going to need a catch to win. And my opponent since I am playing in the 2600s, is probably going to throw at a weird time. So I'm going to have to make what's basically just a soul read on when they're going to throw this move. So they are going to be firing off the Outrage to pick up the KO, and now it's a prediction game. I farm up, switch into the Landorus, and we get the call right. Let's go. We get the catch, the perfect prediction. In comes the Palkia to try and catch the Fusion Flare, but it's not going to happen. Necrozma met with the Fusion Flare. We get the knockout, and with the perfect catch, we're able to fight back and get the win. Terrible lead, leading Dialga into Shadow Rhyperior. There's a safe switch to Kyurem White, and look at this Rhyperior get deleted. Shadow Rhyperior is so much worse into Kyurem White. Breaking Swipe is going to do significant damage. Out comes my opponent's Kyurem White, but I'm still healthy enough that I can make it to an Ice Burn. Ice Burn does huge damage, so my opponent is forced to shield, and baiting out the Kyurem White is really good for my Landorus, and I got a shield advantage as well. My opponent, I have to respect the potential Ice Burn. It is way too threatening. They are just going to go for the double Fusion Flare. Fusion Flare, not nearly as threatening as Ice Burn, so I can actually survive a Fusion Flare. So I'm going to let that go. That still does so much damage. And now I exit with an Iron Head. So my opponent either gives Landorus a shield advantage or they lose the Rhyperior. They lose the Rhyperior. In the back is Zacian, and Landorus is feasting. Landorus, if you run into a Kyurem White, you're going to lose instantly, but if it's not aligned to Kyurem White, it has so much play right now. So it feels to me a little bit similar vibes to what Vigoroth did at its peak. If you were on Annihilate, you just lost the game instantly, but if you're not, it just offers so much play into everything else. Because Pokemon like Kyogre are substantially worse in a Kyurem meta environment, where both Kyurems, even though Kyurem White is fully walled by Kyogre, it completely destroys it. Kyogre has no play there whatsoever. So here, we get a very comfortable win against the Zacian, and despite the fact that we lost the lead, we're able to get the win. Dialga versus Dialga. Okay, another mirror lead. This opponent does not have Best Buddy Boost equipped, and that's pretty nice for me. So I'm going to look to farm up. They're actually going to strike first with an Iron Head. Iron Head, not particularly threatening. It will allow them to win the 2s if they want to by landing a move, but I'm just going to go straight for the Roar of Time. I want to guarantee a knockout here. Roar of Time is going to connect. They're going to send in Rhyperior, and I pivot into Kyurem White. Kyurem White now in a great position. They're going for the Breaking Swipe. I decide to let it go, and that instantly loses me the game because they have Kyurem White in the back, and I have a Landorus. If I shield that, I'm in a fine spot because I still have a very healthy Kyurem. But I let it go. I wasn't thinking to the fact that, hey, Kyurem White exists. So unfortunately, I just get completely swept there by Kyurem White. Kyurem White is just ridiculous as a closer. We see a Core Breaker on the lead in the next match, leading Dialga into Duskmane Necrozma. Steel-type leads, we are going to be ABA weak to. Technically, I could potentially switch in my Kyurem White and play that out that way, but realistically, being down a turn, and based on the fact that most Duskmanes are on Iron Head now, it makes life very uncomfortable. Here, my opponent, they try and get fancy here with a Shadow Claw farm down, but Dialga makes the Iron Head, gets some nice damage, and now this just sets up my Kyurem way too well, because my Kyurem will now get to double shield in exchange for a full farm down. And this amount of an energy lead on Kyurem White is just going to completely run away with this game. They get to the back-to-back free shocks. That's very okay. And now my opponent has an incredibly uncomfortable decision to make here. They're going to bring in Necrozma, trying for the Peekaboo play onto the Palkia, but it's not to be. I get to go straight for the Ice Burn. That rocks the Palkia. Palkia gets Ice Fanged down. They're going to bring back in Necrozma, and one nice thing about most of the Necrozma switching to Iron Head Outrage is they have no closing power in neutral situations. Like if they have Sunsteel, Sunsteel can threaten a one-shot, but they don't have Sunsteel anymore, which means Landorus is extremely comfortable in the zeros. So we're able to knock them out with the Sandseer Storm and take the win. We move to the next match, and it's the Dream Lead Dialga against Kyogre. Opponent safe switches into their own Dialga, and it might seem a bit surprising that I'm not sending in Landorus here, but anytime I see Kyogre, which is a lot less common this season, and there's a Dialga save switch, it's almost always a fairy type third. And if it's going to be something like a Zacian, a Xerneas, or even a Primarina, then I'm going to still want to have that Landorus. So I'm very comfortable just staying in and playing this out, because I have a secondary great answer to Kyogre. So I get to land the Iron Head. Opponent is going to fire off an Iron Head of their own. I'm going to no shield, and on 1 HP, we're able to win the lead. And now, as they bring in the Primarina, we are extremely happy we did so, because Landorus is going to do great here. Out comes Kyogre, and now I get to send in Kyurem. And these waterfalls just look like they're healing Kyurem at this point. I'm full sending the Ice Burn. Ice Burn, big damage onto Kyogre. Kyogre is actually going to make a very smart play here. They intentionally don't throw their energy. And that is because they want the farm. They know I'm still switch locked, so they want the farm on Primarina. But here's the thing. Charm Primarina is so slow to get to moves that even with all that free farm, that's actually a really smart play by them. It's still not enough to outpace and actually win this game. Just, man, Primarina, I know technically it should be good in a meta environment where a bunch of new dragons have appeared, but my goodness, the pacing on this thing just really feels bad. Even with all that free energy, it's still not enough to outpace the Landorus. We're able to KO the Prima and take the win. Moving to the next match, Dialga against Melmetal. Last season, this would have been a good matchup, as Melmetal was running double Iron Bash plus Thunderbolt, so Dialga actually walled it. But this season, they're actually on Superpower. So I end up making a catch, which I kind of have to, onto the Landorus. I catch the Superpower, but out comes Kyurem White to delete me. And this right here is why you basically can't save switch Landorus anymore. It's just far too risky with a good ice type like Kyurem White lurking around. The unfortunate thing here is if I had to switch out normally, I would just save switch to Kyurem White. But most of the time, you can basically play out most any lead with Dialga. But the really difficult thing about this particular team was since I was core broken, I kind of had to try and make a play. And that play was me trying to catch a superpower. So even though I was able to successfully make that catch, it does end up backfiring. And here, I believe I end up losing count on the Melmetal, and I actually let them get to a third superpower here. That's just sloppy gameplay by me. When I saw the Melmetal, I was a little bit, once I saw it was superpower, realizing that it was probably going to be over. I am going to be firing off this Iron Head. Iron Head will land. It's a Palkia in the back, and unfortunately, there was just never a chance to win that game. Dialga into Palkia, they're going to save switch into their Dialga, and I'm going to respond with Landorus. Again, because it wasn't the Kyogre lead, but rather the Palkia lead, I'm very okay bringing out the Landorus here. Go for an undercharge on the Sandsear Storm, and then just get a massive farm down. Dialga should always go for the Roar of Time here, so that way they're going to be able to guarantee a knockout. If they go for the Iron Head actually doesn't knock out there. Back in comes to Palkia, but Palkia is going to get smacked with Sandsear Storm after Sandsear Storm. If it is going to be the Duskmane in the back once again, things could get a little bit uncomfortable. So I fire off another Sandsear, switch into my own Dialga, and it's Landorus, which means that this game is over. Landorus just so good into so many teams, but unfortunately, if it ends up on Kyurem White, and it's going to for my opponent, the game is just instantly over. Sandsear Storm is going to connect. This will set up a sick farm down for the Landorus. Landorus exits with energy, but this energy will not matter as I get to fully wait the clock and then just bring in Kyurem White and a few Ice Fangs delete that poor Landorus, and we're able to take the win. We move to the next match, leading Dialga into Keldeo. I do think that Keldeo is sneakily probably a top 5 Master League Pokemon this season. Keldeo now has access to Aqua Jet. This thing is absurdly good. Keldeo, huge damage with Sacred Sword. And here, they overfarm quite a bit, so I'm going to fire off an Iron Head bait to grab a shield from my opponent. So they will end up committing the shield. They will get the double up. If I really want to, I can double shield for swap, but I haven't seen their Kyurem yet, so I have no desire to do that. I'm going to bring in Landorus. I get one turn bring in. Realistically, that's not going to impact the farm down too much. They go for the Aqua Jet. In comes Kyurem White. I mirror, but they're actually on Dragon Breath. And unfortunately, if they were on Ice Fang, I would probably be fine here. Like, they're on Ancient Power too? What is this moveset? I don't know what this moveset is, but it's shredding me. I don't think this moveset is particularly viable in other team comps, but for this particular team comp, it did work great for my opponent. Hopping into the final match, and we have a bit of a forgotten meta Pokemon from the past, a Veltal on the lead. Veltal was so dominant last season, but with the rise of Kyurem White, it's so much more difficult to use. Veltal farming up a ton of energy. They're going to try for a catch onto Duskmane, and I get to respond with Landorus. Duskmane, it's tough because on the save switch, I feel like they might actually still have Sunsteel Strike. So I have a bit of a tough call to make here. I'm going to decide to shield, and I get it right. Most are not running Sunsteel anymore, but on the save swap, I was thinking the only way a save swap makes sense is if they have Sunsteel. So I do end up double shielding. They have a Kyogre in the back, and this game now gets very uncomplicated very quickly. I get to save some energy, send in the Dialga, and I will go for a bait against Kyogre. Kyogre is going to commit the shield, they send in a Veltal, and I misremembered where their energy was at. But honestly, that's still very okay, because all that's going to do is just give farm to Kyurem. So Kyurem will get a very nice farm down, and Kyogre is just absolutely, thoroughly miserable against Kyurem White. They go for the Surf, that just does nothing. Oh my goodness. Just absolute nightmare fuel for Kyogre. I get to fire off Fusion Flare. They no shield because, of course, Landorus has a move, but that +1 Ice Fang is still enough to deliver victory. All in all, I think this team's a pretty solid team if you're looking to climb the ranks in the Master League. Days end today running this team, and I'm recording this video on Wednesday. It'll probably drop Friday. I'm 26-41 with the team. I did end up having a bit of a tough set with Triple Dragon down back into the 2500s, but we're able to climb back to mid 2600s with this team, and this team felt really good to use. There's obviously going to be some core breakers. If you see a lot of Melmetal lead, it's going to be more uncomfortable now that they are running Superpower, but honestly, I don't think that's the worst matchup ever, because if you're able to play it out in a way where you can neutralize the Melmetal, then Kyurem White should do pretty well in the back. And Dialga plus Landorus both just ended up feeling like really good meta reads for these first few days of the Master League. Landorus just so nice at breaking a lot of common save swaps. Like the most common save swap I was seeing with the Triple Dragon team was constant Rhyperior or Dialga save swaps. And with having two dragons in the back weak to Dialga, I kind of had to stay in all the time, and that made life very uncomfortable. So having something like a Landorus that can so effectively answer that and core break a lot of teams ended up being a very big plus. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.